Nice to meet you again. Welcome back to Unit 5 on the topic the place we live in. There are many words that mean the place that we live in is the house. Yes, we use the house for the place we live in. But do you know there are many words, there are different words that mean the house. We use in different places, in many places in the world. There are how many words are there? Teacher John from Nonthai Kuru Upatham School, also he will teach you the vocabulary or the words that mean the house, and he will teach you about the sentence, the grammar, the preposition to that you can use to explain or to talk about the place, any place. After that, you will be back to see me again. I will teach you to do the exercise at the ends of the unit. There are 4 exercises, different exercises that you will do it. I will show you the example. We will go together. ก็สวัสดีเป็นภาษาไทยนะคะเบื้องต้นนักเรียนได้ทดลองฟังไปละครูใช้ภาษาอังกฤษในการที่จะแนะนำครูเชื่อว่านักเรียนคงจะมีความเข้าใจเนาะในหน่วยนี้ครูจะอธิบายให้ก่อนนะคะว่าชื่อเรื่องชื่อหน่วยก็คือthe place we live in the place we live in ก็คือสถานที่ที่เราอยู่อาศัยเราจะรู้จักกันในภาษาอังกฤษก็คือนักเรียนถ้าจะนึกออกก็จะคือคำว่า house นะคะแต่ในหลายๆที่ในหลายๆประเทศคำว่า house ไม่ได้ใช้เหมือนกันเขาอาจจะมีคำอื่นๆอีกเยอะแยะในหลายๆที่ค่ะซึ่งที่เชอร์จอห์นเอนโดโคจากโรงเรียนนนทไทยครุอุปถัมภ์ก็จะมาสอนนักเรียนนะคะในคำศัพท์แต่ละคำที่ใช้นะคะก็จะแตกต่างกันออกไปจากนั้นที่เชอร์จอห์นก็จะสอนนักเรียนเกี่ยวกับประโยครูปแบบประโยครูปโครงสร้างประโยคแล้วก็ preposition หรือคำบุพบทที่ใช้ในการบอกเล่าเกี่ยวกับสถานที่นะคะจากนั้นนักเรียนก็กลับมาพบครูอีกครั้งหนึ่งในการทำแบบฝึกหัดนะคะท้ายบทซึ่งต่อไปในห้องเรียนออนไลน์นักเรียนจะได้เรียนรู้ที่จะเป็นภาษาอังกฤษทั้งหมดนะคะค่อยๆฝึกไปหน่วยนี้อาจจะเป็นหน่วยแรกที่ครูจะใช้ภาษาอังกฤษค่อนข้างเยอะหน่อยนะคะที่เชื่อจนจะมาสอนหนูนั้นเป็นภาษาอังกฤษทั้งหมดเลยแต่ที่เชื่อก็จะใช้คำศัพท์ง่ายๆซึ่งไม่ยากเรียนทำความเข้าใจได้ก็พยายามทำความเข้าใจนะคะที่การที่จะนำภาษาอังกฤษไปใช้ในชีวิตประจำวันของนักเรียนนะคะOkay, it's time to go with teacher John Endoko about the words and the grammar that used to explain about the place we live in. Let's go.
Hello students and welcome. Thank you to teacher Napapan for this opportunity to meet you. Today we are going to talk about places we live in. This is a very common topic because everybody lives somewhere. Maybe you live on somewhere, you live in somewhere, or you live at somewhere. So the first thing we're going to do is to review our WH questions. We call them question words, right? Because with these words, we can use to ask questions related to places where we live. We also use this question word to introduce ourselves, to ask questions, and also to give a description about ourselves. When we first come in contact with new people, WH questions becomes very important. Let's say this is Cindy and this is Linda. Okay, Cindy is going to say, "Hello, what's your name?" And Linda is going to say, "My name is Linda. How are you today?" And Cindy is going to say, "I'm doing fine, thank you." So you can see that WH questions are very important to English communication. So the first thing we're going to do is to review our question word to make sure you still remember them. So the first one we're looking at is what? Good. We use this question word to ask about things, to ask questions related to names, right? Names of people, time of the day, and other things around us. So we can say, what is your name? The next WH question I would like you to say is when. When. We use this question to ask about the time. If we need to know about the time in the past, present, and future, we use the question when. For example, when were you born? Or simply put, when is your birthday? Or when do you go to bed? When do you go to bed? Right? And here comes question number 3. Where? Where? Okay, this question asks about places. And this is the question we're going to use to ask people where they live. Because the WH question, where, it asks a question about places, the places where we live, the places where we study, the places where we go shopping, the places where we go for vacation, and all other places. And you can remember your places in the city, like the bank, schools, the malls, shopping malls, night market, all of those places, we use this one question word, where, to ask that question. So, for example, where do you live? And here comes question number 4. How? How? Okay, this question is used to ask about feelings and the manner at which we do things. For example, how are you today? How are you feeling? How is your family? How is your friend? We can also ask people questions starting with how to mean the manner at which we do something. Like, how do you go to school? How do you make a cake? Or something like that. Because it's talking about a manner, like how to do something. Next question word is who. Who? Okay, this question is only used to talk about people. You can think about all the occupations in the world, like doctors, dentists, teachers, parents, babies, friends, relatives, classmates, roommate. All of these are all people. So we use this question word to describe or to relate with people. For example, who do you live with? Who is your best friend? Who is your English teacher? Right? So only use this question to talk about people. And here comes another very important question is which? Which? Use this question to ask questions about choices. Choices, we must have 2 things to choose from, or we must have 3 things to choose from. For example, black and red. Which color do you love? For example, black and red. Which color do you like? I like red, or I like yellow. So use this question word, which, to ask questions about choices. There must be a choice about something, right? For example, which do you like? Them all or Terminal 21? I like them all. Okay, so we can also ask questions like, which city in the country do you love? Which city in Thailand do you like? I like Korat in Nakhon Ratchasima. And here comes another question. Why? Why? Okay, we can ask questions starting with why when we want to know a reason for something. I just said, you heard me say, I like Korat, right? So you can say, Teacher John, why do you like Korat? Why do you like Bangkok? Why do you like Thailand? Okay, I like Thailand because Thailand is a land of smile. Everyone in Thailand must smile, and that is a very good thing for me. So I love Thailand because Thailand is a land of smile. So that is the reason I just gave to you, right? So use the WH question, why, to ask about reasons for something. And here comes another very important question is whose? Whose? Okay, use this question only to ask about possession, something that belongs to a person. If we want to know who the owner of something is, we ask questions starting with whose. Whose? For example, who's this car? Who's that car? Who's this bicycle? Who's this pen? Who's this pencil? Who's this bag? Who's that hat? Who's these glasses? Right? So we're asking questions about who is the owner of things around us, right? Don't forget, these questions are very important because we are going to need them. We're going to use them when talking about places where we live. So this is a rundown of the WH questions. Just to take it one more time. The first one was what, when, where, who, whose, how, why, and which. If you understand and remember your WH questions, then that's very good. Now let's go to some basic questions friends are going to ask you about related to places where we live. Are you ready? Let's go to class. And now let's talk about places where we live. When you come in contact with someone for the first time, people want to know your name, how you feeling, and place where you live, and the place where you live. They can do that by asking you simple and basic questions like, what's your name? What's your name? Or what is your name, right? The second question would be, how are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing today? Because they want to know about your feeling, how you're feeling. They want to know about your emotion at the time. The next question will be, where do you live? Where do you live? Now they want to know the place where you live. The city, the region, the province, the district, the country, or the village, or even the house where you live. So where do you live? And lastly, they want to know about what house would you like to have? What house would you like to have? Because today in this lesson, we're talking about types of houses and places where we live, right? And now let's answer the question, where do you live? You have to understand that the question, where, asks about a place, right? It can be a city, it can be a country, it can be a village, or it can mean your house where you live. Because there are different and many other places where people live, right? So we call them places where we live. So this is the thing you have to understand that to answer this question, you have to know your prepositions of place. Now, the preposition of place we're going to be using this time around is only three: at, in, on. One more time, at, in, on. One more time, at. One more time, at, in, on, at, in, on, at, in. No, at, in, on. So let's talk about these three prepositions of place because they describe places where we live. So let's take, for example, in. In. Okay, we use in to talk about an enclosed space, right? An enclosed location. It can be in a country, in a city, in a village, in a city, right? Because we use in only to talk about an enclosed location, an enclosed space. So let's see what we can talk about in, because we want to describe the places where we live, right? So are you ready? Let's practice our prepositions of place. So for practice purposes, we are going to see a long list of different situations and different times we can use the preposition of place in. So the first thing to say is in the newspaper. In the newspaper. You don't live in the newspaper, right? In the newspaper. In a house. In a house. Yes, we live in a house. So a house is a place where we live. So we would say in London. In London. Okay, London is a place, right? Just like we can say in Bangkok. In Bangkok, right? So you can use the names of capital cities, the names of cities, the names of villages to use with the preposition of place in Bangkok, in London. Next is in England, in England, because we say we use the preposition of place in to talk about an enclosed space, right? So London is a country, right? So just like we can say in Bangkok or in Thailand, right? So where are you from? Or where do you live? I live in Bangkok. I live in Nakhon Ratchasima, right? So use the preposition of place in to only talk about something which is in an enclosed space, okay? That is awesome. Amazing job. And here comes the preposition of place, on. We use on to talk about something which is on the surface of something. For example, the table. If you have your cup of coffee on the table, it means the table is a surface. It can be a horizontal surface or it can be a vertical surface. So, on, it means something must be on top of something, right? Okay, so we use the preposition of place on to talk about places where we live. Like, for example, we can also use on to talk about things around us, the places where we have them, right? For example, on the floor, on the floor. Now, the floor can be on the first floor, on the second floor, on the third floor. The toilet is on the first floor, right? So when you have a house that have different floors, maybe 4 floors, 5 floors, or how many other floors, there are so many tall buildings out there. So I live on the second floor, on the second floor, on the second page, on the sofa, on the sofa. Of course, daddy is sitting on the sofa, right? The sofa is there as a place of comfort where we can sit when we need to relax, when we need to calm down, when we need to watch television. So we can sit on the sofa. But you have to understand when we use on to talk about places where we live, we may be talking about the road to our street, the road to our house. For example, I live on Chokchai Ratchasima Road. I live on Chokchai Ratchasima Road. So I am using the preposition of place on to talk about the road passing across my house, right? So I live on Chokchai Ratchasima Road. What about you? Do you know the road in which you live in? So you have to use on to talk about the road in which you live in. So these are the different times, the different situations we can use the preposition of place on to talk about, to describe things around us which are on the surface of something, and to also tell places where we live, like on a road, on street number, and things like that. And next we are going to see the preposition of place at. Are you ready? Keep watching. And here comes the preposition of place, at. We use at to talk about things which are at a particular point. So when something is at a particular point of place, we use the preposition at to describe the place. So for example, at the airport, at the airport. If you want to fly to South Korea, to China, to Pakistan, you at the bus stop, at the bus stop. Good. If we want to travel to another city, like I want to travel to Bangkok, I will go to the bus stop, right? So I am at the bus stop. at the bus stop because it is a place. We use the preposition of place at to describe a place which is the bus stop, right? At the traffic light. At the traffic light. When we are driving, riding, we need to be cautious. When we are driving, riding, we need to be careful of the traffic light because we have to be careful with the traffic light so we don't speed too fast, we don't speed and we don't go too slow and we don't cause accidents, right? So when we get at the traffic light, we need to stop when the lights are red. And when the lights are green, we need to take off again. When the lights are yellow, it's time for us to slow down. So, mom is at the traffic light. John is at the traffic light. At school. At school. School is a place. So we use the preposition at to describe the place, right? So at school. Are you at school today? I know you are not at school, so you should be at home, right? But very importantly, you must understand that we can use at to talk about places where we live. It means we are telling our address in English. So if your friend asks you, where do you live? You would simply say, I live at. So you have to tell your house number because you are giving your address where you live. So for example, I live at 629. I live at 629. So 629 is the number of your house. It means you are giving your address where you live. It is a place. In, on, at. One more time, we can put together in, on, at to talk about the place where we live, right? For example, where do you live? I live in Nakhon Ratchasima, Huatale, on Chokchai Ratchasima Road at 292. At 292. That is excellent. So that is the place where you live. But this time we said there are different other preposition of places we can use to describe our house, to describe the place where we live. So we can talk about things like next to. I live next to 7-Eleven. I live near 7-Eleven. I live across or opposite 7-Eleven. I live between 7-Eleven and coffee shop. I live between 7-Eleven and coffee shop. I live next to the bank. I live next to the bank. I live between. I live between. I live across. I live next to. I live behind. I live in front of. I live in front of, right? I live opposite. I live opposite. I live between. I live across, right? I live over the bridge. So we can use all of these prepositions of place together with in, on, at.